Welcome to our next Business Agility Boost. We are broadcasting from the Netherlands, so I say good afternoon. However, if you watch from a totally different place in the world and are already celebrating your weekend, or maybe just checking in with a cup of coffee, let us know in the chat where you come from. We are happy to hear from you. And also raise your questions. We are inviting everyone to join our conversation today. For the ones who are joining and do not know me, I'm Elise Hofmeester, founder of Twingster and the Twingster Academy. And it's my purpose to create spaces where everyone is able to thrive. Human-centric, purpose-driven, value-based. Next to our consultancy and academy, LinkedIn is of course a great space to share our knowledge and to learn from each other and to shape the future. Today, we dive into the transformative journey of Ross Diagnostics in the Netherlands. With the fast pace of change in the Dutch diagnostics landscape, they found that the way they were operating was holding them back. Now, how to change while you also have to run a huge operation? So I'm very excited to dive into this topic with our guest of today, Esther de Rooij, General Manager of Ross. So let's invite her in the room. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
I'm very happy you are here and that you want to share your journey, which already goes a couple of years back. But before we dive into this journey and this story into the things you did, can you please explain a bit who you are?
Who I am. Yeah, where to start in, right? Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom of two wonderful kids, wife of a wonderful husband, but also a business leader in Ross Diagnostics. I've been working with Ross Diagnostics over 18 years now. It's a long time. What is wonderful about an organization of the size of Ross Diagnostics and also the focus on people and their development is that you have an opportunity to do so many different things. So started from a more marketing perspective, moved into business development, had a great opportunity to be a general manager in Roche Diagnostics Denmark, to also have an international perspective on a completely different healthcare environment. And since 5 years now, the general manager of Roche Diagnostics in the Netherlands. So I am a combination of somebody that comes from science and knows the healthcare business quite well, but also an entrepreneur with a good foundation of business. And what because I like your sort of like my purpose is also really to help people and teams to be the best versions of themselves. So really to find the spark of purpose and then make a connective team and organization to do what is needed for customers and patients, which we serve.
Yeah, wow.
That's
Thank
who
you.
I am.
Yeah, that's who you are. And great that you want to share that and also sharing your purpose. And I know, for instance, that you have a purpose. The people in your organization are really dedicated and aligned to their own purpose, but also to the purpose of Roche. And that's at least what I experienced while working together, collaborating with you all. And you did an amazing transformation starting in the midst of the pandemic. Can you elaborate a bit on why you started to do that? Because in the beginning it can be that if you feel kind of uncertainty in the world or in your organization, sometimes that's also holding you back to change something, but you did totally different things. So can you elaborate a bit on what was the catalyst for the change?
Yeah, and to be really honest, this whole change journey already started before COVID. Actually, end of 2018, even before I joined the organization collectively did some hackathons on like what's going on in the healthcare environment, where are we evolving also with our strategy in Roche Diagnostics, and how do we see that fit? So they really did actually for us a new ways of working to collectively bring sort of like these topics together and to find a common denominator. And then they already identify if we keep on working with a complex organization with so many different business areas, with all kind of processes and the different customers that we serve, we will not be able to do the work that we need to do if the decision maker is still sort of like in the top. If the structure it keeps on being very siloed, we will not be successful. So then in 2019, we identified we need to do a transformation that is quite differently from what we are doing right now. We were already market leader in Roche Diagnostics, so not in Roche Diagnostics, sorry, in the in vitro diagnostics environment. We have quite some market leader pockets, but we also identified that we wanted to move more to digital solutions, insight solutions, which is really different stakeholders, different decision makers. And this is where we identified the market is changing. The whole organization is too complex to make the decisions fast enough for the changing environment. And we could also see that our colleagues were changing. And what I mean with that is that the colleagues wanted to make their own decisions, wanted to be in front, much closer to the customers than we were before. And these three elements combined made that we wanted to really, make a change. So that started in 2019.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too long, so maybe I'll pause here.
Yeah, and that was still before COVID, right? And then you stopped for a while, because everything in the Netherlands, at least, but in the entire world, needed to reorganize and where to work from. What happened then after that? Because you made a kind of kickstart again during the COVID period. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, then I want to finish what I was talking about before, because what we did before COVID is that we, with the whole organization, so more than 150 colleagues together, did 35 different design sprints to really sort of like shape a strategy. So the strategy was then quite clear what we wanted to do. We identified 6 guiding principles for us to sort of like work on. We had 5 different strategic pillars, and then we had a design sprint with a selection of our colleagues to really start looking at our organizational structure and the ways of working and how we want to focus on the strategic topics that we identified. That was a blueprint that we already placed and were ready to execute upon, and then COVID hit. So actually, March 2021, we were about to press the button to change our whole organization and ways of working, really based upon what the whole organization built. And then COVID came, and to your point, we did pause. So we did say in March 2020, this is something so important and crucial for us, COVID in this case. We wanted to deliver the solutions to the customers and patients in need. So that was our focus. And we then paused for months and didn't do anything on the transformation. To your question, what made us decide to, while COVID was still ongoing, to then execute on the transformation is that we felt that even the way we were working during COVID was so close to how we wanted to work, so close to our customers, all the multidisciplinary teams combined around what is the solution that we want to build and bring to our customers, that it felt like everything that we do not do on our transformation, so really execute upon the changes, will hold us back and will also really make us not being able to deliver the solutions to our customers like we all believed would be the best solution. So this is why we said, like in March or April 2021, let's go for it. This is the moment to really roll out what we all designed and really stand behind.
Yeah. So there was really the urgency also felt in the organization to make a change now to improve for your customers and patients and so on. Yeah. Hey, and what you explained, you mentioned already a bit about the design sessions you organized. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Because how did that work? Did you just started with a small group, or what was that process? Because I think that's very interesting for other organizations who are in or want to start a transformation. It's really special what you did, at least. I think.
Yeah, and to be really honest, this is now 5 to 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully I do justice to the work that we did at that point in time. But I have to say, the leadership team kick-started this process, and that journey started really with the leadership team. So that would be my biggest also tip to other organizations. If your leadership team or the leaders of your organization do not truly stand behind it, and what I mean with that they really understand what the transformation also will mean for themselves, for their leadership journey on its own, but also the shift that it will be for the organization, then it's really difficult to make it a success. So start with your leadership journey, and make sure that the transformation is already a little bit started with them as leaders, but also with also the understanding of what it will mean for the organization. So that's one. The second one is then we did this hackathon, and then sort of like understood what would be the 5 strategic pillars that we had to deep dive in. And what the decision was of the leadership team at that point was, let's not do it from the leadership team. Let's do this collectively. So let's invite the enthusiastic, knowledgeable colleagues in our organization to join these different sprints, and really focus on what is needed for the strategy to be successful. And from that point on, we deep dived in the different topics connected to the strategy or connected to what do we need to change, and identified again and again different sprints to get more knowledge, get more understanding, and sort of like designed closer and closer to what do we want to do on our strategy, how do we think our organization should look like, etc. And all the time used and invited our colleagues to join. And that meant in the end that I think I was more than 120 colleagues that participated in this journey. And I think that bottom-up approach, so not the leaders shaping everything, but really collectively, made it a journey that was very engaging for our colleagues, but also already a change journey for people to understand, oh, what are we going to do? And I'm actually part of it. I'm invited. And that really, that understanding of that change really, really helps. So that would be my advice as well. Don't do it somewhere isolated. Really bring your organization in.
Yeah, but Esther, I can also imagine that leaders in organizations say, yeah, but if we want to involve everyone in the organization, how do we then also run our business? Doesn't it take a lot of time to work on these topics and to find out where we want to head to?
Yes, it absolutely takes time. And of course, we were running a business as well. So we always call it, and I think you also said it, like you transform while running. So you indeed need to sort of like identify the pockets and the timings to do the different sprints. Absolutely. But again, coming back to the point, if the leadership team truly believes this is what we want to do, and then also really discusses through what is the investments that we're willing to take, especially in a transformation as big as we did it, then you need to understand, if you want to go fast, go alone. Just do it with the leadership team and roll the strategy out. If you really want to go far, and that's what our sort of like desire and vision was, we really wanted to make a big change, then do it together. And that then indeed takes an investment. Of course, that's always a balanced investment. You cannot have like all of a sudden all your employees working on this. You need to balance that, and that's the constant dialogue to have with the organization. But it is an investment. I can tell you, it was successful in the sense of like, people are engaged, understand the change, and then when you make the change, the effort is less than, I would say, just rolling it out top down.
Yeah. And Esther, you also mentioned already in the beginning, you started with the leadership team to understand what it was, what you were aiming for. Moving from a more hierarchical organization to self-organization and delegate leadership in your organization is a big change also for the leadership team. How did you deal with that together? Can you explain a bit about that, or is that?
Well, I first called you. No, I think it started with really listening to, well, again, this hackathon and the change that we felt was also going on in our market, and also the strategic shifts that we could see in our own organization. That the leadership team was like, "Oof, if we need to all sort of like make all the decisions, speed, yeah, the complexity that was in front of the leadership team, it was quite clear that they also understood the urgency. That's where it
Mhm.
starts. And
Yeah.
then also got to, yeah, we went to, for instance, ING, we went to Buurtzorg, we went to quite some organizations to just listen what they did and
Hmm.
how it then paid, yeah, how it really sort of like supported them.
Hmm.
That really helped. So to get more knowledge in the leadership team, one, to see the sense of urgency of change, two, and then three, really have the discussion with the leadership team. So what will it mean for us as leaders, and for us as an organization? And then I think, because I just already made the remark, we understood we cannot do this on our own. We need support, and we need somebody to help us getting through this transformation ourselves.
Hmm.
Because to go from a leader that is knowledgeable, sort of knows it all, takes all the decisions, and is really at the steering wheel for everything, to we call it VACC leadership. So you're visionary, you know the direction. You can, of course, still architect what is needed, but you're more a coach and a catalyst than really saying this is what would need to be done. Every decision is made by me, etc. That transition,
Hmm.
that takes support as well. So we needed also to get some support and knowledge and feedback from somebody external and somebody
Yeah.
outside of where we were. So that's where we ask for your support.
Yeah, yeah, and it's clear in my in my head how it went, because it was really a journey. If we now look back and things pop up again, yeah, and sometimes it was really brave, because it was a difficult period and everything was online. So I
Yeah.
still know that we saw each other, I think, 5 times in a year. So in life, eh? So everything was online. What helped you also, because you started with the design sessions. At first, you had your entire journey with the leadership team. You started the transformation team, the
Yeah.
transformation office. Um, how did you manage to track that process? Was there something that really helped you to do so, because it's all online?
Yeah, well, parts of it was before we were online, and that helped, because,
Hmm.
to be really honest, quite some of the design sprints with the organization we could do still in person, and I think that was at that time also really needed, because then the energy comes out of sort of like people and the whole, sort of like room and space. So that was really an important part. So the belief was already there, the energy and the engagement, I think, was done before COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
So when we were in the virtual setting, first we had to do a lot of work virtually. So quite some of us were quite quickly adapted to work virtually, and it was
Yep.
actually
Yep.
much more efficient sometimes even to do it like that. But to keep track is a good question, because I think you were also a great believer, and I still keep that with me, of making sure that you measure.
Hmm.
So do not listen to voices that you hear alone, because this is always important. But one voice doesn't represent the 180 people that are behind. So always keep track of your success factors, make them measurable, and then do on a regular basis also these surveys to track where are we in the organization, what is moving, how do you see sort of like the movement of the different success factors that we define. So that is, I think, a great tip as well. Don't just feel, but
Hmm.
also get the knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah, and but then you also, because if you want to measure and track your process, you also need to define certain goals. I know you started to work with Obeya, for instance. And can you explain a bit about how that worked for you?
Yeah, so it's sort of like two questions in one, right?
Yeah,
On the one
sorry.
hand, yeah, don't worry, I'm separating them. The success factor so far, transformation, we defined quite clearly. And indeed, you already mentioned we started with a transformation office, and those were the people that really kept track on, okay, are we still moving with the transformation? If we talk about employee engagement, where are we? If we talk about psychological safety, where are we? If we talk about team dynamics, so all the things that we saw as success criteria for a transformation were followed and keep track on by the transformation office. The OBEA is a topic on its own, I would almost say. So OBEA means war room, and it means, and it's a big part of our transformation, that we wanted to make our business very transparent for everybody. What does that mean? That we have a very sort of like focused vision and strategy, and that everybody, every team understands how they contribute to that. And to make that very visual, we started, now I don't even know what the original format was, but online we started, what was it again? Because we now work with Lucid. We work with Lucid right now, and we visualized our strategy, and then all the teams visualized how they are connected to the strategy, what work they do, and then also divided the business at that point in quarters to show the strategy. That was one part on the OBEA. We also kept track on the performance. So we have measures, KPIs, and objectives and key results that are quite clearly depicted on the OBEA, and then also on a monthly basis track where are we? Are we on the right track? And then only talk about the business that is not on track. And the other part on the OBEA is also the marketplaces. So the marketplaces are done every 2 weeks. And then this is a topic above teams where we discuss, do you need other members? Do you need other capabilities above the different teams that you can then negotiate like you are on the market? So these are the three big components. There's much more on the OBEA, but the big important parts that we visualized during COVID and still are using, actually.
Yeah, and and it's impressive that because you already mentioned you started 6 years ago, and then during COVID evolved, and now because I lately also spoke someone of the transformation team, they said, yeah, but it's now no longer the agile transformation, but it's more our unique Roche way of working. And
yes,
sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I really like that, because then it's becomes really something that is part of your DNA, right? But I can also imagine that now we hear the story, how it evolved and how it continued and the successes. But were there certain points or moments in the transformation that you thought, oh my goodness, how do we continue?
Of course.
Of course.
No, of course. And I think let me start with what I said in the beginning. If the leadership team doesn't believe in the transformation, don't even get started, because there will be also personal transformations in this whole journey. And everybody will go through that personal transformation in their own pace. So if you kickstart with a leadership team, they will go through it, hopefully a little bit in front of the rest of the organization. But identity changes. How can I even support? What is my contribution? What is the impact that I make? That's a personal one. But you also have that in teams, right? They're used to work with somebody, a leader, that tells them what to do. And all of a sudden they have this collective responsibility to do the right thing. So they need to form teams. They need to really build their own strategy. So there are moments that you think like, is this even possible? Can the teams even make their own decisions? Are they really connected to our strategy? Will they form teams that really will be successful in the end, or will this take forever? There were so many moments in this transformation that we had our doubts. Is this even possible? Will it in the end indeed pay off? So either regrets on self-led teams, really, will that work? Or your regrets in the sense of like, they made decisions, help. Would it be nice to be involved? All the sort of like FOMO type of elements as well. So there were multiple moments that we had, these either fears or regrets or whatever, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes that can also mean that you step back, and what we see with organizations, other organizations, that they fall back in their transformation or stop. That's also the case. And now, because in the beginning it is learning, and you are still learning, of course, because it's continuous learning. But how did it evolve along the way? Because it's not something, you are an agile or trying to become an agile organization, and you started and scaled working with self-organizing team. You started with a few teams and then build on that. Can you elaborate a bit on what happened afterwards? Because after a year, you walked your own way. You were able and built the capabilities to do so. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, I will give it a try. Let me start with what you indeed said already about we identified, let's call it 3 bubbles. We had the traditional agile that are described in inventing organizations, for instance, or done by other organizations, like this is agile and this is, so it's really speed, stability, flexibility. These are the ingredients for agile. This is traditional agile. Then we are, and I think it's also good to mention, we are a local organization, so the Roche Diagnostics, the Netherlands organization. That means that we are connected to a global corporate organization, but we have some freedom to operate. But that's a part. You need to be part of a network. And then I think the other part is we are in a market, so a healthcare environment in the Netherlands. And these 3 bubbles defined, this is what we called the new ways of working in the beginning. And these new ways of working was really that we had to learn about agile, that we had to learn what a squad is, and what the function of a chapter is, and how you then bring in resources in a squad, how a squad is supported by an agile coach, all the different sort of like operating elements of how we wanted to work as an organization. We called it new ways of working. So we kickstarted with, this is how we would like to work, and this is the operating model and the ways of working that we defined. And then already said, we will be a learning organization from now on. It will not be static. We will not say this is it and we will just keep on doing it forever. So we organized, of course, let's call it the retros in the teams, the retros of the whole organization, either based on strategy or ways of working. And we also organized 4 times a year. We kickstarted with it to also really have these organizational design, so the architectural retros, so that we keep on looking back, what worked, what didn't work, what do we need to change, and then also making decisions on a regular basis on the changes of the ways of working, architecture, capabilities, so to keep on learning and adjusting. And that's done by the transformation team, sort of like to make sure that we keep on moving, but of course not without the leadership team support there. So how did we keep on evolving and changing? And we now call it not the new ways of working anymore, it's our ways of working. But again, still until today, we have retros, we keep on learning and adjusting along the way.
Nice to hear.
Answering your question.
And what I regularly see is that, especially what you mentioned, the retros, the feedback loops, etc., they are the first things that fell off the table because of lack of time. And I think it's impressive if you can keep going and keep learning, because using feedback loops and retros are the way to learn from each other. And if you then have these retros and so on, how do you make sure that you follow up? Because it's sometimes also a bit difficult in some organizations. That what I also sometimes hear is, yeah, but now we had defined actions, but we do not follow up on those actions. How do you make sure you do?
Yeah, to first respond to what you said, like you don't have enough time to do it. Part, it's indeed you need to build a new rhythm. It's like if you want to sort of like be active or healthy, you go to the gym and you say like I do this 3 times a week. I start to eat healthy. So all these new behaviors you need to inslide. I don't know what the English word is, but you need to make sure that it becomes a practice, right? So that you do this. And this is, again, our transformation office that depicts of a change expert, transformation lead, and also agile coaches really will build the yearly rhythm for the teams, for the organization, etc., to make sure that we keep on going. So I don't have time for a retro is not an option because that's what we do. And then afterwards we do the next steps. So it became a habit. And it's almost like if you don't do it, you miss it.
Yeah.
Right? In the beginning, it's weird, it's new, it takes time and effort. But once you are used to it, you want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And you want to eat healthy, right?
Yeah.
So the changed habit is now part of who we are and how we operate. So that's one. It's now a practice that we're used to. To make sure that the changes you identify, that you really build them in, that's not easy because that's this continuous change. And if you know what human beings are, we don't like change. That's just what it is. So this is also where you need the agile coaches to remind you that didn't we already said that in the previous retro, and why didn't we change it? So it's really also helpful to have this, let me call it, outside in view from agile coaches, because they are part of our organization, but they do remind business leaders, like, actually you said that you would operate differently, actually you said that you would change the way you set the strategy, why don't you? So it's really also that, but also again the metrics that we defined, like this is what we want to achieve, where are we, and to keep on track on your performance is also crucial. So keep an eye on what you want to achieve as well.
Yeah. Focus on your purpose, your goals, what you are aiming for. I heard you several times mention the transformation team and also the agile coaches. They are internal agile coaches, I think. What is it? What can you elaborate a bit more on what the importance is, or what the transformation team does in your organization?
Yeah, it allows us to keep on evolving in the ways we're working, but also how we work with each other, so that keeps on improving and changing along the way. They are the glue for the different teams. So, for instance, if you have a squad that works together, they are the glue to make sure that the purpose is clear. They do that of course, the squad itself does it from their business perspective. But the agile coaches make sure that there is the glue from the team. That why are you together? How would you like to work together? And to make sure that the magic of the team is there. So that's a very important part, that the business leaders can focus on the customer, the strategy, the what. Let me call it like that. And the agile coaches can really make sure that the way we work, that the marketplace is there, the dynamics of the teams are perfect, the dynamics between the teams are done. So these agile coaches keep us track on how we work, and also, of course, making sure that we keep on evolving and changing as in an efficient organization overall.
Yeah.
Bit of a vague answer, but I hope the transformation office agrees with me if they're there.
We can ask them. Maybe they are here and listening.
Yeah, exactly.
And did the transformation team also evolve over time? Because in the beginning we had certain expertise and disciplines in the team. Did that also evolve with your way of working and where you are now?
It absolutely evolved. Also because the need of the different teams is very different. In the beginning, they were really training and educating on agile. There were sort of like making sure that the rhythm of the organization was followed, understood. So it was really about making sure that the maturity of the organization in the ways of working was done. Now they are really there also to keep on evolving and to even go deeper with the different teams, and to making also sure that we that we keep on training that muscle. So it's a very different maturity where they are. And also, I'm also thinking about the different functions that were in the team. For instance, one was a customer experience lead. I was part of it. And that voice in the beginning was crucial because we lost sort of like the voice of the customer in our organization. We sort of forgot what we were doing. And I'm talking really previous transformation, right?
Yeah,
That was one of the reasons we wanted to transform to be much more customer focused and also patient focused. And that change of the customer experience lead really brought in that customer voice, but also the understanding of where do we make an impact with our customers? How can we increase their satisfaction? How can we make sure that what we do actually is also what the customer needs and not because we think the customer needs? And I think that voice and bringing that closer was really needed in the beginning, and now it's more evolved of what evolutions can we do. It's a very different approach, maybe too detailed to discuss that here. But the answer to your question, yes, the transformation office evolved from training and educating our organization to keep on making sure that we move and develop ourselves as an organization.
And Esther, maybe it's too detailed, but I think what we often see in transformations is that organizations really work from the inside. So are focused on the internal change. But you also you change because of you want to deliver value to your customers, and in this case also to the patients, and to prevent them maybe from becoming patients. So it's a very important part, and I remember that it was a very important part in your transformation. The customer centricity, and how do you continue to also bring them in the retros and retrospectives and feedback loops? Do you invite them, or how do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm laughing because that would be weird if they're not part of it. No, and it's a good point actually, because because we're so in the middle of it that you almost forget this, right? But the customer centricity, yes, that's crucial, and they really help us. And yes, if you talk about retros, they are a massive part of one organizing the retros, but of course also providing the feedback to the teams, helping them to keep on track. So these metrics again, right, that I talked about several times, but also being that voice of sanity, maybe that's even the word. So really also guiding and supporting the leadership team, be mindful, this is what we need to focus on, these are the outcomes that we defined, and then we need to tweak here, tweak there, maybe even focus on certain elements. So they are almost the right hand of the leadership team to keep the organization moving. So yes, they're absolutely involved in that.
Yeah, nice. Hey, and if you look at the future, if we are able to do so, because that's also sometimes difficult, but we can imagine. What do you foresee? Because there are also organizations who we find new technology, AI is coming up, is already there in a lot of organizations, but also continues to evolve. I see organizations who think, okay, we need to spend more attention to that instead of our way of working. What do you foresee for the future in your way of working, and how that improves also your value to the customers?
Thinking about the question overall, I think one of the reasons why we also changed as an organization is we delivered classical in vitro diagnostic solutions, so big systems, tests to our customer. What we really want to see in our strategy is as well that we are using digital solutions, digital insights. AI is part of that, to really also help clinicians make better decisions, labs to have better insights of how they run their labs, but become even more efficient with that. And that transition from the classical business to this new and I think really valuable sort of like part of our business was one of the reasons why we did this transformation. So to your question, like, is it either or? I would say, to be really honest, I don't think if you have AI and all kind of digital evolutions, you cannot do that with a classical hierarchical organization. You actually need an organization that is, yeah, clustered around the different customers and the needs, and
Mhm.
are able to make the decisions quicker than before, and so not wait for the cascade to the leadership team. So I think this whole transformed organization is a better fit with these new solutions than actually the classical hierarchical setup and ways of working. So for me, it's not either or. For me, it is the ways of working would absolutely support the new technologies and the use of that.
Yeah.
To be really honest, maybe even the hierarchical will completely disappear because I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
my opinion, my humble opinion, I would say. I don't know how others see this.
Yeah, yeah, no, but it is also what we are talking about now. So about your opinion and your experience also, and how you experience that in your organization, and that's maybe different than other organizations.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Esther. And yeah, I think we can talk for hours today.
Yes.
Because there are so much more things. And please, people, if you have some questions, let us know. But if you if you look back about the past few years, is there something that you would have done different with the knowledge you have? Yeah, that's always difficult, but with the knowledge you have today. But is there
That's not fair.
something that you think this is what I would have done different, or what I really would give as a tip, advice to others?
Yeah, let's indeed look at it from that point of view.
Yeah,
Because it's not fair with the knowledge that you have today to look
yeah,
back, because that's also why you learn, right? And how you go through. I think what I would not do different, let's maybe start with that, is to really bring people on board from the early kickstart of now we want to transform, so let's do this together. I think that was the best decision. What I would also not change is to really also make sure that the leadership team supports this. And it's not just lip service, it's really truly they understand what it will also mean for them individually and how they also need to change their leadership. Because I think that is a crucial part. What I would change is to have more focus on the leaders in the organization, the original ones, and the leaders that you have in your new organization to support them with that shift more. So not the leadership team alone, you also have leaders throughout the organization. I
yeah,
think we underestimated the enormous transformation, individual transformation that people will go through as well. And I think that's something that, with the hindsight, with the knowledge of today, I think supporting people much more in their well-being, in their transformation, I think is something that we underestimated. It's quite a change of
hmm
identity, of what you know, how things worked, and how you need to reinvent yourself.
yeah,
That sort of like change. Please focus on your leaders, especially, but also in the people in the organization much more.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
That's
think also, yeah, last point, what I would like to say, I think the self-led element is really something that people want to do. If they hear how it can look like, people really want to do this. But on the other hand, if then people understand what it means, like now I need to take decisions, now I'm responsible, now these elements support the self-led team, especially a bit more with that transition. So how do you do decision making,
yeah,
and what would that mean? Because yeah, the leadership team is used to this, but the pockets in the organization might not really understand what decision making, what the different decision making formats are, consent, consensus, what the delegation of authority is. I think that part we underestimated,
Yeah.
how difficult that is actually. So I
Yeah.
would have educated the teams a bit earlier on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So earlier
yeah,
in process of the
yeah,
transformation,
exactly.
really also focus also on that, on the decision making, because you delegate it.
Big part.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You
Yeah.
really
Okay.
want to push that to the teams that are close to the decisions. But I think we underestimated how difficult it is all of a sudden for these teams. Like, oh, now I need to make that decision myself. It
Yeah.
sounds very simple if I say it like that, but it was quite a big blocker. And when we sort of like got to the point, this is holding the teams back, and we
Yeah.
said like, oh, shoof, we could have done that earlier.
Yeah. And Esther, what you also mentioned is the support to employees and leaders in the organization and dealing with the change, because it is a change in the way of working, but also for themselves personally.
Yeah.
What you already mentioned, yeah, your role changed. Do I still like that? How do I deal with it? When you are in a continuous improvement phase, do you then still experience these kind of resistance from, yeah, I call it resistance, but that's
Yeah, I was
maybe a
about to
bit
say I don't want
too
to see it as
too
yeah.
heavy word. But do you think that is also a continuous part in support, or is that
Yeah,
more
I
in the
think
beginning?
maybe to separate it too, because
Yeah.
one thing, one part of our transformational office is also a change expert. And that would also be my advice. Don't underestimate that you have somebody that is knowledgeable about change and can really support with how do you communicate, what is needed to make that transition, what steps can you take to evolve, and really keep on understanding of the improvements comes with change, and change
Mhm.
again is what people do not like. So you have somebody in your organization, and we had it in our transformation office, that really understands change and how
Yeah.
you can catalyze that. That would be my one tip. Because for every change, there will be people that will try to keep the current situation instead of, again, if you want to go to the gym, easy to say, but do you really go to the gym? And that part, I think, and you called it resistance, but it's holding on to something. This works. Why are we changing this? So have this change expert in your organization. It really helps. The part
Yeah.
of well-being is not linked to resistance, because these people are quite often the ones that actually do want to make that change, but are all of a sudden in an identity crisis. You can almost call it like that. And some people go through quite smoothly, and others are really sort of like ooh all over the place. And that's what I mean, like be mindful of that, and support people with that
Yeah.
transformation in their individual transformation, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's then also a big role of the leadership team and the transformation team, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And there was a last question also from Bas. Do you expect 5 years from now, the organization way of working will be totally different again compared to now, since you keep transforming, or will it only slightly be adjusted because the fundament is there?
Yeah, that's of course a really good question, and I would like to emphasize again, you're part of a corporate organization. The corporate organization, in their strategy and also in their ways of working, absolutely believes that we need different ways of working to be successful, and that we shouldn't have like a few leaders that are knowledgeable and everybody else just follows what has been said. So I think that true fundamental belief in the new leadership styles, new ways of working, is crucial for this to keep on evolving, right? Just imagine that the corporate organization all of a sudden says, well, this is the leadership team, it's their way or the highway, which would be unlikely for Roche. Just imagine, then it's really an illusion to think that you're in the Dutch organization can keep on working like you do. So that's one part.
Yep.
Other part is, I think the fundament of the ways of working is there. I think the true belief of the massive majority of the organization is absolutely this is the new ways of working, and it really helps us to be more successful. And successful is not only defined in business results, but also in engagement of employees, and also in sort of like the feedback you get from your customers, how the interaction goes, right? So that fundament is there, but it will evolve. And will it evolve further into sort of like agile elements, or will it be a move a bit back to a bit more structure, sort of structural leadership? Let me just call it like that. I don't know. I hope it will be more sort of like self-led. I hope it will be more trusting the people and the customers on its own. But it's my hope of the
Yeah.
vision of the future. But it will depend on the people themselves as well.
Yeah. I see another question popping up. What is most important thing to invest in your employees during the transition? You already explained a bit, of course, in the support. Are there other things that you think, this is really important to invest in?
Yeah, well, first of all, a great question, Jaxie, and I think this is maybe even the golden bullet question, because one of the reasons why we did this transformation is also that we wanted to lift the employee engagement. We really have a very high ambition. If we wanted to become even the talent magnet. So if we start talking about the way we work, and if you step into the office and you feel the vibe, you want people to be like, I want to be part of this. This is amazing. So how do you invest in employees to be that engaged, that energetic, and that sort of like supportive of the culture and the way you work? These are the true and golden questions. And I think it's not just one answer. I already mentioned, indeed, you need to invest in your people also throughout this change. So don't push it aside and think it's not important, but keep on investing in explaining the why. Why are we doing it? Keep on investing and listening to your colleagues and listen what the need is, and then really support them. Listen to the well-being, try to adjust the speed of the things you do, and really take care of your people. But also, and that's I think an important part, invest in your leaders. So make sure that they understand what type of leadership is expected. I call it VACC leadership. This is how we call it: visionary, architect, catalyst, and coach. And make sure that they understand what type of leadership is needed in an organization like this. That it's not the telling hierarchical leader, but that it's really a completely different profile of leadership. Make them aware about that and let them show up differently. And then last but not least, really listen to the employees, what they need, either capability development or coaching to support the ways of working. Really listen to that and make sure that that's available is a crucial part. So five answers to one question, and I still don't know what the golden bullet is, but yeah.
Yeah, and probably that is also the thing that you iterate and it evolves. So every time people in the organization need something different, and also people in your organization not all need the same thing at the same time.
Agree.
That's also, and therefore I really also like your answer of listen to the feedback, and do also the retros and retrospectives together. Yeah. And you mentioned also the employee engagement. That was really one of the things you wanted to increase. What are some 3 main results of the entire transformation?
Oh, it's not fair.
Fair, no, I know.
Yeah, maybe I should have asked the transformation office, to be really honest. No, one thing that I'm also really proud of, and I have to, I don't think the expert lead is on the call, but one thing is really a big change is that previously the leadership team would say like, this is the direction and this is what we're going to do. So this is the strategy and these are the targets. And that's what we changed from KPIs, output targets, to work with objectives and key results, which is more outcome. And then the teams will sort of like build how they get to that point. So that is already a really different combination between leadership of these are the targets and you need to execute upon it, what I exactly say, and this is how you do it, to like, this is the what that we would like to achieve and the teams are getting to it. But now we also evolved that it's not only the leadership teams, but it's also the product owners in our case that together shape these are the targets, and this is what we would like to achieve. So you really have the bottom up, the knowledge of the
Yeah.
customer and the market, and you have the ones that are building the vision and the strategy that do it together. And I think that's a massive journey where we got to from where we are now. And you hear this, I think, also for the first time. So this is a big one.
Yeah.
The other one is really the change in leadership and how they show up. I think our leaders in the organization are really evolved and very different. And I don't even know if the leaders in our current organization want to move to an organization that's hierarchical, because they now experienced how leadership can be differently as well. So change of leadership. And I would also like to say the engagement, how we sort of like are all knowledgeable and sort of like interacting, I think is a great dynamic that we see as well.
Yeah.
There's probably more, but these are the things that pop up in my head right now.
Yeah, wonderful. And and I also recognize that what you say, that if the way people in your organization now collaborate and work together, and not
Exactly.
only this, but also the people in your organization, that if they decide to go to another company, that's also very difficult, because you want to keep that way of working, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, Esther, I really want to thank you for your openness, your transparency, and sharing your story with us all. I think, but it's my opinion, it's really a great example of how you had the courage to change and also to evolve and scale, and still do.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, I know. But you do, and you do it together, and I think that's really powerful.
Yes.
So one last thing you want to share with us, or did I ask all the questions?
Maybe one last thing. It's a little bit connected to, like, if you want to go far, go together. So and I said the part already, like, bring your employees in this journey and really bring them along, because you will be surprised what powerful knowledge, experience, but also pull you can get, or push you can get from that. The other part is the thing that I didn't share is maybe also how I experienced it as a leader. If I now look back, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. If you see people stepping up, not only sort of like to really sort of like be engaged in this whole transformation journey, but also stepping up in really business results and being much more engaged and purposeful in the way they work, is super powerful and very, very rewarding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that also, how you personally experience now how you work together in the organization. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for listening. Also, if you were not able to listen live, but listen in the replay, you can still ask your questions, and we try to answer them, or I pass them to Esther. Esther, if people have questions, where can they find you?
I don't know. I didn't expect that question.
Maybe via LinkedIn. Then you are on LinkedIn.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, exactly. Then we will try to answer the questions. And thank you all. And we see you back hopefully in the next Business Agility Boost with a different case study. Thank you all, and enjoy your day.